डॉक्टर कपाही, डॉक्टर गुडबोले और मेरा दोस्त उदय माहौरकर, मैं पहले तो क्षमा चाहता हूं कि मेरा हिंदी थोड़ा सीमित है, तो मैं अंग्रेजी में ही बोलूंगा क्योंकि कंफर्टेबल है। आज स्वतंत्र वीर सावरकर पुण्यतिथि। It's a very sacred occasion. I was very glad that in this morning I was able to commemorate the occasion in JNU. Maybe the crowd wasn't enormous, but I think it is important to make that point. Because Savarkar belongs to every part of India. Savarkar, unfortunately, in the past few years, was almost airbrushed from history. He was confined at best to Maharashtra. Of course, he does belong to Maharashtra. But Savarkar, as both Udayji and Dr. Godbole have pointed out, his concerns were never confined to one place. He had a civilizational view, a very large view. Today, when we look at the original thinkers of the 20th century, when we look at today some of the debates which have been taking place in India, the starting point of those debates is always Savarkar. The debate starts with Savarkar. People may like him, people may dislike him, but they cannot ignore him. Both Udayji and Dr. Godbole have spoken a lot about the various facets of Savarkar. I know it is nearly lunchtime and the calls of lunch are more attractive sometimes than the call of one speaker. I will just say in summary that there are two facets of Savarkar which should strike us and we should remember is this enduring contribution to modern India. In one of his writings, the first one I should point out, in one of his writings, Swami Vivekananda had said that what is the view, how do people look upon the Hindu? And he said, they look upon him as the patient Hindu, the mild Hindu. What he did not add, but what he also meant, that they also look upon him as the defeated Hindu. They also look upon him as the Hindu who can be kicked around. They also look upon him as the Hindu who will try to justify a defeat by saying, but we have a superior worldview. Someone will demolish a temple, but you will say, we have the Upanishads. That was one view. That was one construct of the Hindu which was made. Mahatma Gandhi used satyagraha and non-violence as a very effective political tactic because he knew that the British had arms, they had guns. We didn't have guns. We had numbers. So he used numbers against guns and used that as a big moral force to defeat that. However, Gandhiji also said Satyagraha is bound in courage. Unfortunately, those who inherited Gandhi's view took upon that and said non-violence means weakness. That the Hindu is condemned to always accept any blow that is cast on him without any retaliation. Savarkar was one of the very few people who stood up and said, there will be an assertive Hindu. In all his talks, in all his presidential addresses, whether he talks about national security, whether he talks about how to defeat the poisonous gas in Assam, Savarkar was saying, do not take the Hindu for granted. What Vivekananda had said, गर्व से कहो, Savarkar took it to another plane. That was his contribution. That the legacy of Chhatrapati Shivaji, who could not tolerate what happened in Mathura, who could not tolerate what happened in Kashi, that was the model to follow. That was the contribution of Savarkar in the 20th century. The second feature which Savarkar introduced in us was the notion of the political Hindu. So far, Hindu had been thought of to be a various cluster. कोई Shaivite है, कोई Vaishnavite है, कोई नास्तिक है, और कुछ है, लिंगायत है, God, various divisions. To Savarkar, Hindutva was not about what was your puja pranali. It was not about which. Did you worship Krishna? Did you worship Shiv? Did you worship Kali? Did you worship Durga? Is your prasad vegetarian? Is your prasad non-vegetarian? It was not about that. He was quite clear. He was quite clear. I shall quote one particular section from him. Let Hinduism concern itself with the salvation of life after death, the concept of God and the universe. Let individuals be free to form opinions about the trio. The whole universe from one end to the other is the real book of religion. But so far as the materialistic and secular aspect is concerned, the Hindus are a nation bound by a common culture, a common history, a common language, a common country, and a common religion. So Hindutva to him was not and never was about which God you followed. It was a political construct. A lot of people used to get puzzled during the Ayodhya movement. Advani ji once said, I am a political Hindu. Advani ji didn't go to temples those days. Actually, he went more to Gurdwaras. But the point which he was trying to say is that the Ram temple in Ayodhya wasn't really a religious temple. It was something more. It was the collective consciousness of India, where the temple was only incidental. It was a symbol. It was the symbol that Hindus could be assertive, that Hindus could be political, and that was what the symbol was. And that inspiration drew from Savarkar. Today there's a lot of debate on the CAA. Some people say that this is exclusivist. We don't know what the whole thing is. Savarkar had two facets of what constitutes nationhood. It's well known. The first was that Bharatvarsh is the Pitribhumi. Why he used Pitribhumi rather than Matribhumi is something else, which is worth an interesting discussion. But it meant the same thing. But the second point which he made, which has been the cause of great concern to a lot of people, is that he said, Bharatvarsh is Punyabhumi. Today, when we say that for the Sikh who was stranded in Kabul, for the Hindu Bengali who unfortunately fell on the wrong side of the line after 1947, for that person who got left behind in Sindh, this is also our Punyabhumi. That was the concept which Savarkar used. Some people call it the right of return. I think in various ways, we have, in our own way, paid our tributes to Savarkar very quietly, without acknowledgement, but he will remain in our hearts always, whether he gets a Bharat Ratna or not. Whether a street is named after him or not, or whether the Gandhi chooses to accept his name or not. Thank you very much for this. Dhanyavad.